Open the damn door!
The night before I actually came to Gillian's Place, I was one of the worst beatings that I've ever had in my life. The last thing I thought before I passed out was my children are gonna find me dead. I know right now I wouldn't be here.
Domestic violence is prevalent worldwide, and Niagara is no different. Gillian's Place exists to offer a safe haven for women and children who are in danger, and offers services to help transition them to a healthier and freer life, with the intention to break the cycle of abuse.
We all knew and lived with the mental abuse and verbal abuse. We were always told it was just a strict parent.
I was really naive to the fact that the domestic violence even happened.
Yeah, until I had my own kids, I didn't really consider it abuse because it wasn't physical.
The women and children who seek out Gillian's Place are in crisis. They are suffering through the worst time in their life. Domestic abuse is more than the physical violence between partners. It is a pattern of behavior used to exert power and control over a loved one. It's intentional, it doesn't discriminate, and it carries devastating impact.
I went through a lot of manipulation, so I was told that that happened in every house. If a wife was to step out of line, that a husband would take care of it physically, and that I deserved everything that was happening to me.
There was one night he was yelling at my mom. I don't know the reason. I was really little, like 5 maybe. And I walked down and I saw him like throw a bowl at her head. I got really, really scared. Whenever he used to like yell at her or stuff, I always tried to hide under my mom's shirt.
She finally had the courage to try to leave him, and unfortunately it didn't last very long because about 2 months later he had stalked her and assaulted her and stabbed her to death 18 times.
You draw your lines of how much you think you're going to take. So the first day he went after my daughter was the day that I left.
When you leave the house, we were taking everything important like clothing and whatever because we knew whatever was left would be destroyed. I never thought to take the photo albums. I'm gonna cry. I really wish we had those photographic memories that he destroyed.
Gillian's Place opened its doors to an 8-bed refuge in August of 1977 and filled every bed in the first night. We've since grown to a 34-bed shelter with transitional units across Niagara, able to offer a continuum of essential services completely free of charge.
My husband at the time started to look for us the minute we left. When he couldn't find us, he became quite annoyed and got more and more aggressive, so we had to leave where we were and we ended up at the shelter in the middle of the night.
Our 24/7 emergency shelter is the cornerstone of our organization. Tens of thousands of women have arrived at our doors, some alone, some with their children, and most with nothing more than the clothes on their back.
I didn't understand at the time. I didn't think they'd take me in the middle of the night. I thought, it had to be like Monday to Friday that I would arrive. But what am I going to do in the meantime? And my sister said, no, we'll go now.
We work hard to make our safe refuge as home-like as possible. Our kitchen is open 24 hours a day, and dinner is shared amongst all residents daily, prepared by our kitchen staff who have carefully considered all allergies, dietary, and cultural needs.
They found us our room. They got us some pajamas because we came with the clothes on our back. We had nothing. My daughter, who was quite awake, wanted to see outside. And at that time, there were bars on the windows for safety. And she said, oh, we have bars. And the woman that had signed us into the shelter said, yes, but they're not to keep you in. And she said, no, they're to keep my dad out. I like that. The girl from the shelter started to cry. You know, it's sort of kind of a realization that you have that this child's lived her whole life, 7 years, in fear.
While living in our home, women and children have access to counseling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by counselors who really understand what they've been through and guide them to rebuilding their lives.
I did need the housing support, but I really needed the emotional support. And then I remember, even a couple of times in the middle of the night, not being able to sleep and having somebody to talk to.
We've partnered with several community organizations, including Niagara Public Health, pediatricians, dental hygienists, and mental health services to ensure that medical needs are met.
She had looked into the counseling, and she had just started to pursue that. And actually, the last counseling session she had was the day that he killed her. She was just starting to open up and tell people and share her story.
When a partner leaves an abusive relationship, the abuse doesn't necessarily stop. It often gets worse, or at the very least, more complicated. Domestic abusers use whatever tools they have at their disposal, whether it be threats, intimidation, coercion, or an escalation of violence.
She would get misinformation, and the lawyers, they would try to overwhelm her. Marion right here would tell her what the truth of the law was. It was amazing, and that was a really big help.
The legal system is not designed to address the intricacies of intimate partner violence, but our legal program is. Gillian's Place is the only shelter in Ontario that employs a full-time family law lawyer. Women are able to receive free expert legal advice, which enables them to enter the legal process armed with knowledge about what their rights are. This opens doors with credibility that would otherwise remain closed.
That's the big thing why women don't leave, the financial burden. She didn't have the money to pay a lawyer. She already had a lawyer at the time. I think by the end of it, she had paid about $10,000.
When you've been emotionally and mentally abused, you just don't feel like you're safe anywhere. It doesn't matter if there's a judge sitting in front of you. They would take me right up into the courtroom, sit with me, and take me back to the shelter. So it's just security.
In Canada, 1 to 2 women lose their lives each week in domestic homicides. Most are predictable and preventable. In Niagara, we have a team that reviews a woman's risk of being a victim of homicide and puts measures in place to plan for her safety.
If I could do it again, you would definitely reach out to Gillian's Place, where you would get guidance to know that this is an abusive situation, because you do question it all the time. They would definitely be able to help you put in place like a safety plan, because when you don't feel alone, I think that gives you more confidence.
In Canada, an estimated 360,000 children witness or experience family violence each year.
It's kind of scary even now to be around him, just because I remember like what he did to my mom.
Long-term exposure to these traumatic events can affect a child's brain development and their ability to learn.
I have really bad anxiety, depressed a lot of the time, all the time, because I was around like all that anger and violence, and he didn't care about us, you know?
Children who witness violence in the home have twice the rate of mental health and psychiatric disorders as those who don't. Each year, around 40% of our shelter residents are children.
My daughter says that she probably would have gone in the same relationship if I hadn't have left. That's how she feels, that it would have just repeated itself.
Our child and youth counselors work to instill robust self-esteem, model healthy boundaries, and share an understanding of gender equality so they don't end up in their own cycle of violence.
I had a boyfriend for like 2 weeks. He said I love you like really quickly and would get mad when I would like hang out with my friends and wouldn't answer him, and so I just kind of ended it. And I think I would have not had I not known that that was something that wasn't okay.
Half of all teenage girls report being physically hurt by their partner. Learning healthy relationship skills greatly reduces the risk of violence in teen dating relationships. Yet Gillian's Place does not currently receive any funding for violence prevention work.
We were aware that he was stalking us and watching our homes, because he didn't know where she was staying. She was out of town. He would change vehicles and be in other people's vehicles. I actually came home one day early from work, and I found him trying to have access to the back of my home.
Domestic abuse causes such damage because it lives right at the center of everything we do, our homes, and it snakes its way into every area of our lives. Gillian's Place services are structured to ensure that the pathway out of abuse addresses every area: employment, housing, financial support, and more. And in West Niagara, we offer transitional shelter units to women who need a bit more time to access safe and affordable permanent housing. It's a dream of ours to be able to grow and offer more transitional units across the region.
Because of all the support that I received, that set me up for what was about to happen the rest of my life. They rebuilt my faith in that time that this isn't all men that do this, and that you can trust somebody again.
When women arrive to Gillian's Place, they are broken. Isolation, manipulation, insults, outbursts, all work together to break down self-confidence, self-respect, and hope for the future. They need to be reminded that a whole and healthy life is possible, and that they should not be blamed for how their partner chose to mistreat them.
She's definitely more confident and happy. She always stands up for what she believes in, you know, and she's content and she's successful. She's beautiful and strong, and it shows, you know?
Each donation to Gillian's Place sends a message to our clients that they have an entire community behind them. It says, we believe you. It says, you are worthy. You are deserving of respect, and you can keep going. Please keep going.
I want my mom's story to somehow resonate with somebody else, so maybe they will reach out for help. Something good has to come out of something so horrific. That's my hope.
I truly believe that I probably wouldn't have made it out if I wouldn't have found Gillian's Place. The fact that I had all the support made all the difference in the world. Saved my life.
Our vision is a socially just community where women and children are free from violence and abuse, and it starts by educating our children and youth. Sadly, we receive no funding for prevention, and so help from our community is essential in creating educational programming so that we may stop the cycle of abuse. Without your support, where would our clients be? What devastating consequences will their children have to live with? Your donation helps us answer these questions. Let us define our future together.